We're here again with the 65 Impala. We're at a garage. Josh got the SSBC 4-wheel disc conversion kit for this car because it was drums all the way around. We don't want to deal with it. So we are going through and we're going to show you guys how to do the front end right now. We got brake pads that came with the kit, the brackets, hardware, the calipers, and that's really it. I mean, there's a couple of hoses that we're gonna have to replace probably and whatnot else like that, but otherwise that's it. It's that simple. And taking it off is fairly simple as well. So take the wheel off. Obviously that's simple enough. Depending on the lug nuts that you have on your car, it can range from anywhere from 3/4 to 13/16. We're gonna go ahead and pop off the spindle nut and the pin, which is already not even on there. This one didn't have a dust cover cap on it, so if it did, you just take a hammer and a screwdriver and wiggle it off, pop it off. The kit came with new ones of those as well, and bearings. So all this stuff that we're taking off, we're not reusing any of it. We're gonna go ahead and get this nut off. They're not on there very tight because of the way that the bearings are on these cars. So it's a 1 1/16 to take that off, and off all this junk. And then we're gonna go ahead and get out the washer that goes in there to retain the outside bearing. You see how nasty this was because it didn't have a cap. And then the bearing. So we're not reusing any of this, so we don't really care. But it looks pretty nasty. Be able to yank this thing off if it's, yep. So this is a 2-piece design on the front of these cars. You got the drum, and then you got the hub assembly that goes onto the spindle. So you just throw that off to the side. This will pop right off as well. And then we just throw this off to the side too. We don't need it. The new kit comes with everything. Then we go ahead and we start taking apart the brake shoes and the springs and all the hardware there. You know what? Yeah, I'll do that first. So let's go ahead and take these off. Let's get the retainers off of here first. So there's that stuff. There's the retaining pins, the springs that are already off. That simple. Just use a pair of pliers. And then for the actual springs that hold this on, there's just a 2 up top here. So we just need to pry on it hard enough to get it off. Then we have 3 bolts. They are a 15/16 up top for the upper knuckle for the backing plate, and then these 2 on the bottom, which are 3/4. So we'll go ahead and grab our handy dandy impact here, put our 3/4 on it, and hopefully these come off. We'll see. We did spray a little bit of penetrating oil on it. All right, cool, that one's spinning. So now we just gotta grab our 3/4 inch wrench because they're through bolted. So we're gonna go in the back here, grab onto that bolt, or that nut anyhow, and then we are gonna go ahead and loosen it. There we go. It's not bad, and that one came off. Now, we gotta get this other one off, and it's got a bunch of junk caked on the back of it, so give me a second. Nothing like a brand new socket getting whacked with a hammer. All right, there's that one. And then here's the bolt. So there's those 2. Now, the upper one is a 15/16. And they also have a washer on these that you have to bend out of the way here, if you can see that. You see right here. Yeah, that's why they want that on there. So this is it's to make it to where it doesn't want to spin. So we got to go ahead and bend the new one in the same way so that way it doesn't come out. We also put Loctite on ours, blue Loctite, nothing too crazy, just enough to, you know, keep it in there and make us feel a little bit better than just using this design. So that's it, just enough to bend that stuff back out of the way, and then we'll put our ratchet on there and take it off. And then this will all come off of here after we take off the brake line from the hose or the brake hose to the line up there. This whole assembly will come off in one piece, including the wheel cylinder. So since we don't care about this, we're going to just kind of let's see if it wants to move. Oh yeah, this one's a lot better than the last one. Oh, it's just a little dinky line too. Yeah, so it comes off that T there. So it's actually twisting. The line is twisting with it. So it's just gonna, yeah, it's just gonna snap.
It unsees with the line, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, exactly. So that's all right. We gotta replace all that anyway. And that's such a small line. It doesn't really matter. So that's nice. So then we go ahead and take the retainer off of the hose. That is just the pry bar. And
standard brake bar stuff.
Yep. Just pry that little guy off of there. If I can hold it down. There it goes. And then this. Oh, this one's got a lot of rust on it, eh? There it is. All right, and then the magic part. This all comes off of one piece. So the backing plate, wheel cylinder, the hose, everything comes off one piece. You're not going to want to reuse these hoses. So at least, unless maybe your stuff's new, and if it works, I don't think it's going to be the same though, because we're putting calipers on it. I don't think the threads are the same. Now we're just going to go ahead and clean this up really quick, get as much of the garbage out of our way that we can, because we got to make sure this is all nice and clean. This backing surface doesn't matter as much because of how it's going to be done. Literally all that matters is this right here. So that doesn't make any difference if it's clean or not. But there we go, that's good enough. So now comes the assembly part for the new caliper, rotor, and all that. Now, since everything's off, we're going to go ahead and put on the brackets for the conversion. So first we take the small bracket. This goes behind everything, and then we'll grab the bolts that are necessary for it.
Small bracket.
Exactly. So first we go ahead, take the bolts, go from the spindle side, and we put in the rear one, and we put in the front one, and then we take the spacer. There's two spacers that we'll be using. You got a 1/2 inch and like a 1 inch. So 1/2 inch, 1 inch. You take the 1/2 inch spacer and you put it behind the steering arm on the back side of that bolt. You want to get in there, put it on the bolt like this, right? Then the small bracket will go in circle side facing down, like so. So just got to go ahead and get it over top of that, push the bolts back a little bit, and then lightly thread it in place. Now I got to grab the 3/4 inch. All right, and then go ahead nice and easily. And those will be tightened up, I believe, to 65 foot-pounds, 65 to 70 foot-pounds. Then we go ahead and we get it ready for the other bracket. So we have this bracket, and then we have the washer. So this bracket goes on towards the back facing this way. Yep, so this circle goes towards the back of the car. So then you put in your 5/8 bolt for the top of the spindle, like so with the washer. And then we actually want to use a little bit of Loctite on this. No, there's no washer on the back side, just the front. Yep, just 2 washers, 1 for the front of each side. So we'll take a little bit of Loctite here. It's blue Loctite, nothing too crazy. put this on here loosely for now. It's a really tight fit. The kit's actually a pretty decent kit. It fits really, really snug in there. So then the new bolt is a 1-inch, not a 15/16 like the old one. So we're going to go ahead and just lightly put this on here. Not even that tight. And then we will take our 1-inch spacer, the bigger spacer out of the two, and that goes in between these two, like so. Then we take the other bolt that is provided in the kit, the smaller of the bolts. We put our locking washer on it. We put the spacer in, and then we thread it into that bracket. Now this one kind of sucks because you can't get a socket on it. You have to use a wrench the entire way. So, and it barely clears. But this is really the worst part of the kit because, you know, it just takes a little bit of extra time to get this thing on here. So, but for one bolt having to have a lot of manual labor, it's not that big of a deal. Otherwise than that, I'm pretty happy with the front part of this kit so far. We'll see how we feel about it, the kit, when we get to the back. All right, there you go. And then we'll take the hammer. Where it's landed at. Mess that up, but yeah, there you go. That's it. And then we go ahead and we put the new rotor and hub assembly and spindle assembly on, which we already had the bearings packed. You got to pack the bearings and do all that. So we packed the bearings off camera just because you should probably know how to pack bearings if you're getting into this part. And if not, there's a million other videos about how to hand pack bearings. Just take a bunch of grease in your hand, you just jam that stuff in there until it's good, and then you set it in. And then in these, you put in the seal, the wheel seal around the back, and you just tap that in nicely. You can use wood or a rubber hammer, or we had a nice big brass nut that we used to put on there and just gently tapped it in until it's seated. So then we just go ahead and make sure that's all greased up, and then we made sure obviously this was clean, the spindle itself was clean. So we'll go ahead and take the rotor and hub assembly and wheel bearings, and we'll nice and easily set this little fella on in here. There we go. Now we got to go ahead and get the outer wheel bearing. As clean as hands as I can get. Yeah, so yeah, it's super simple once you figure it out. But then there you go. There's that. The kit came with new hardware for all that as well, which is amazing. So we have a new cover, and we have all new hardware. This as well. We got a new nut washer and a cutter pin. So this goes in up. Go ahead and we'll put this on. This is the old one. It actually fits. The new one is a little bit off. Then we put the spindle nut on. So and this is the same 1 1/16 with the new nut and the old nut. And these you don't really need to do anything too crazy with. The instructions say that it's supposed to be 17 to 25 foot-pounds. So we're just gonna hand tighten it until we get over to where it's snug. We'll grab the torque wrench. Bearings won't work properly if you over tighten it or under tighten it. So you gotta do this correctly. So that's, go ahead, we spin the rotor while we tighten this. So just nice and easy increments. We spin the rotor while we slowly tighten it. All right, there it is. Then you go ahead and you loosen it a half a turn. So that's in my way, so I'm just gonna eyeball it. That's half a turn. Then you reset your torque wrench to 10 to 15 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to put it at 15. So we'll spin it. We'll go ahead and tighten it again to the 10 to 15 foot-pounds. There it is. All right, that's it. That's tight enough. It spins nicely. No big deal. Then we go ahead and we put in our new pin. If this hole matches up, which it barely doesn't. So then if it doesn't match up, you just take it and you turn it, tightening just a smidge enough to where this pin will go in, which I need to tighten it a little bit more. So there you go. Like you're talking maybe what, 2 or 3, 4 foot-pounds. All right. Then I'll go ahead and there's that. These. And just tap them into themselves. Then we go ahead and we grab our dust cap and we put our good dust cap on there. And then I just take the back end of my hammer here, or the handle part of it, and just lightly tap it in until, hear it sound different, until it seats. And then we put on the brand new caliper, which is super simple in its own right. The GM caliper, I forget the model number of these, we'll put them in the description. The pads, it has a backing retainer that goes in like that. So when it comes in, it bottoms out, and then it pushes in and slightly retains it into the piston, barely. And this one just rests on here like that. Make sure when you put the kit on, you do it correctly, because calipers can be side specific. So you always want your bleeder screw pointing up. So then we slip this little fella in here like so, and then there it is. Grab our pins, put grease on them, and then right now I'm just going to do this just to put it together. Go ahead, put the pins in like so, line it up, and it takes a 3/8 or I think a 9 mil would work as well for these. There you go. And that's it. Put your line on, bleed your brake. It's that simple. You can put some grease too inside of the cap if you want for the bearing. I mean, it shouldn't really do a whole lot, but I like to put some grease in there. I didn't do it on this one just because I don't want to get dirty anyway. But that's as simple as it is to put on the kit and change your 65 to 68 Chevy and other years 4-wheel drum to front wheel disc. That's it.